How you doing?
Good.
Good.
Really good.
Uh,
Yeah.
good. So I really wanted to talk to you because I know I had mentioned to you. So I came to the 11 Honor A show last year for Fashion Week.
Yeah. It was so fun.
It was so fun, and it was also like I started crying when I watched it because I was
I
like,
mean, it was like a big deal.
it
Yeah.
was a big deal. When I was little, I'm 28 now, but when I was 11 years old, 12 years old, I never saw plus size models. And
No, I didn't know they existed.
exactly. And I,
Yeah.
messages from my mom and from magazines that I used to read. It was
Hmm.
all about don't eat that. You need to lose weight. You're not,
Yeah.
you should be
Don't
beautiful.
eat anything. Yeah.
Exactly. And growing up with that, believing that like my value was the way that I looked, and I could never achieve that ideal image of being thin and looking like the girls that I saw in magazines. It just like
For
it was
sure.
a very difficult thing for a little kid. So when I
Yeah.
came to the 11 honorary show, I was like, I started crying. I was like, this is, I was just kicking and screaming inside that like my 11-year-old self didn't have something like
Right.
that. And
Yeah.
it was complicated because after seeing it, I was like, am I happy to see that, or am I so like resentful of it? Like it was a complicated relationship,
Right. It's like a weird, yeah. No, I agree.
where
Hmm.
it was like it's an amazing, incredible thing, but I was so mad. Why didn't this exist? So
Right.
I've just been thinking, like, ever since that, which was now over a year ago, I'm like, I need to talk to other girls who have gone through this because I really didn't have friends who struggled with their weight, being overweight. Um,
Yeah, I didn't really either.
right? And I
Yeah.
like I can imagine that people who have struggled with that have similar experiences. And
Right.
I want to just talk about it and hear what your experience is
No,
like.
yeah, I think it'll be good.
Yeah, but also, like, how have you as a model built those defenses to have the confidence to like go out into the world being like, this is what I look like and I'm fucking beautiful. Um, so that's what I wanted to talk
Right.
to
It
you
just is
about.
what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd love to
Right.
hear your story about your body.
Yeah, so I think it was kind of interesting. I went to a private Montessori school that was really small. And me and my brother got a scholarship, so it was expensive, but they didn't have any minorities. So
Mhm.
I went to a school with a bunch of very well off white or Caucasian, whatever you want to call them, kids whose body type was nothing like mine. I didn't, you know what I mean? I didn't look like anyone in the school. So that I think started me off really early with like, well, why am I not super skinny? Or like, I'm supposed to be super skinny and have like stick legs. Like, I had like this obsession with like thinking that that's what I was supposed to look like. And it, not from anything that anyone at my school ever said or did, just because of my surroundings. You know what I mean? When you're a kid, you look at what's around you and think about like, okay, so why they all look the same? Why don't I look like them? Or like, why isn't my body like theirs? And then to on top of that be like naturally like heavier, I think just kind of made it worse.
Mhm.
But I think I started very early on to say, at least outwardly, maybe I didn't believe it, but I would outwardly say like, I don't care. Do you know what I mean? Like that was kind of my response. It was like, if asked, I'm going to say that I'm fine with this, and then maybe eventually like I'll
Believe
actually
it.
be fine with it.
Right.
Right. Right.
Right.
um and I honestly think to an extent that works. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? It's like the fake it till you make it type of thing. It's like, if I put on this show that I'm like happy with what's going on, then eventually I will feel that. So then I think in high school, I went to a public high school, had a much different experience, saw people who had my body. All of a sudden, Kim Kardashian comes out and like having a big butt is cool. Now it's like not the worst thing on earth, which is so funny. These like weird trends that the media goes through. It's like the Victoria's Secret fashion show was huge, and everybody wanted to know how they starved for 3 months prior to the show to look like that and how they could try it. And Beyonce was drinking lemonade with cayenne pepper or whatever. Like people were doing all of those
Right.
things, like a big thing. Then Kim Kardashian comes out. She's a huge butt. Everyone wants a big butt now. And I think I was in school with a ton of different racial identities and people who had bodies like my own. And it felt way more celebrated. Like it was like cool to be thick and like
Mhm.
have curves and all of these things. But I think one of the things with like body positivity is not following those like waves, right? Which I think I did all the way through high school. It was like the first wave was be super skinny. Then the next wave was like, oh, wait a minute, like being really curvy as long as you have a flat stomach and a small waist, that's like actually really cool. So if you know what I mean? If you can figure that out, then you're in.
Right.
Right. Then you're in the like looks good crew.
Yeah.
Then in college, I kind of just felt like I just was kind of over it, I think. And so if you don't know, I started off on Top Model.
Uh-huh.
So I was in college. Tyra Banks tweeted, "Hey, today's the last day to send photos in." And I was like, whatever. So I sent pictures off of my like Mac photo booth.
Right, photo
You know what I mean?
booth.
Like I hadn't even had a thought about being a model. Yeah.
Right.
Like it was literally just like me standing in front of a computer and pressing the like timer. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I sent those in. Turns out she was coming to University of Texas in Austin. It's a huge school, and it was the college edition. That was the thing. So she was coming to Texas, went to the whole audition, and then went to LA and did the show. And that made me realize that there were even curved models in the world. Like I had watched the show. I had seen a curved model win, I think once, but then I had never seen her again. You know, so it was like, where did she go, or what jobs did she do? I didn't know really what happened after that. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, she won this reality TV show. Like, is she working, or who is booking her? I didn't know people were booking models that were not sample size. So the show, I think, if it did anything for me, was open my eyes to the fact that this is a thing. Right. You can have this at your career, as your career. And I remember I said to Tyra, like, there was this picture where my butt looked really big, and I was like, I don't want to be like that model that has like a really big butt, or like that's what she's known for. And she was like, why not? Like models are known for all kinds, you know what I mean? Some models are known for having crazy abs, and other models are known for whatever, their long legs. She's like, why is that a bad thing? And I think I appreciated that comment at the time, because I was looking at it as like a negative thing, where it's like all these other types of bodies are coveted. Like, why can't your body type be one that is exactly the same thing, just for different reasons? So yeah, I think that was eye-opening and hard to be surrounded by straight size models and be the only one on the show that was a 12. Because I think, I don't know if you have the same experience, but it's like painful to me to listen to people who weigh like,
yes,
they'll talk about, I'm 122 this morning. Like, oh my God, I have to figure it out.
yes.
No more bread, no more, like, give me a break. Like you, like, I can't take this in. I can't listen to you talk about this. And even now I'm 28 too. I just don't even have like the energy for it. It's like, if I hear someone talking like that, I'm like, listen,
Totally.
you first of all don't talk to yourself like that.
Yeah.
Don't talk about like that in public when you're surrounded by people with their own bodies. Like, you voicing distaste for yourself at 2 pounds over 120 has such a like on subconscious like effect on everyone that's around you. The makeup artist who isn't a model maybe is heavier or maybe isn't. Either way, you're putting into her mind that like anything over this size is like gross or requires a diet or all of these things. I think people just forget that what they're saying, everyone's hearing it and like taking it in and processing it in their own way.
Totally. I so agree with that. Like, it gets like under my skin when I hear friends of mine have said like, oh, I need to lose 5 pounds. I need to lose 10 pounds. And I'm like, you don't even know what it feels like to go into a dressing room where you can't pull up the pants.
Like, it won't close. It won't go past your thighs. Right.
And then
nothing like, that they have.
Where do I go to buy clothing like everybody else?
Right.
I try to do the same thing how you were saying, like saying it out loud, like, I am beautiful. It's okay to look this
absolutely
way. And start to manifest it and believe it, right?
Yes.
Girls who grow up having weight problems and heavier than the normal or thin girl, right? Like,
right.
I think that there's so much strength in it. Like, there's something that, do you feel
right? There's something that's like good there. Yes.
I feel almost like grateful for it now in my life.
For sure.
Because I've had to endure such negative messages, or even been bullied by younger, like when I was little, by girls and boys.
Right.
Like, I've been able to build this armor because for me, I'm like, you know what? I don't want you to judge my body right now, because when I meet you, I want you to know that I'm funny, that I'm smart, that there are all these things that are inside me that
Right.
like you thinking because I'm overweight, you know, it has all these preconceived notions, and I don't want people to
Right.
believe those things about me.
Right. Now it's, especially in modeling where I get to like show up and just be who I am for the most part. I think it's, I've just like stopped thinking about it almost.
Yeah.
Like my agent called me to do Victoria's Secret 3 days after I'd had my breast implants removed
Wow.
and was like unable to work out. So it was like, okay, I'm shooting Victoria's Secret in 3 days. I just had a major surgery and they know, and they said that that's okay. So it was like, so there's no way that
Right.
I'm showing up at my worst shape possible, like crazy scars. Like I'm just gonna go like do it and have a great
Right.
time
Right.
because this is who I am right now and I look great. And I think that that is important, like to get out of your head and just show up, be yourself. There's so many other things that you have to offer.
Right.
And if you did look like everyone else, it's like what would you gain?
Exactly.
Like
I think about
nothing.
that all the time too. It's like, okay, if I were thin, what's the
Like
benefit?
get
What would
no, I
I be
got you
able to
back.
do as like a skinny little girl that I'm not able to
Right.
do looking
It's
like
all internal.
totally.
Right.
And what
Yeah.
about with dating or with, you know, even
Yeah,
growing
yeah, that's a
up,
whole
like with
thing.
the
Yeah,
idea of that, you know, boys think that you need to look a certain way and that you're
for
only
sure.
beautiful if you fit that model.
Yeah, it was funny when I was in middle school, that same private school, I was there from like preschool to 8th grade. I mean, kids are dumb. Boys were like voting on like various things. So it
Mhm.
was like, well, who has the prettiest face? And like, I won that section. But then it was like, well, who has the best body? And it was like, definitely not me. Like, then,
Right.
you know what I mean? So it was like, your face is okay, but like, if we had to pick a body, it definitely would be like this person who's really thin and like maybe has some type of boobs or something. You know, maybe you're like 12. Yeah. So then I got older and I think I kind of was stuck in the whole girls are supposed to be smaller than boys.
Mhm.
Boys should be able to pick you up. Boys should be the strong one. You know what I mean? Like there's all these weird things that somehow you just are conditioned to believe and like want to be a part of. Yeah, so that was hard for me. I mean, it kind of was the same with trying to like fit into the ideal body type.
Mhm.
Always just trying to be thinner. Like I spent so much time just trying to be a different body type, which is impossible. For all of those reasons, because that's what was cool in the media, because that's what boys expected. You were supposed to be skinny or small. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like if you were going to be really curvy, at least be short,
Short.
so
Yeah,
that there's some type of balance there, like with the
totally.
male species. But to be tall and like curvy is like, okay, wait, like you just got
Right.
too much going on,
Yeah.
right? It's like, why? What? Like, who made this up? I think it's the same thing. People will say things in a room and not even realize that like you're there. I'll shoot and be the only curve model, and people will be talking about maybe another model or a celebrity and say that she looks fat. And it's like somebody who is maybe a size 6 and
Mhm.
like these they just don't even, it doesn't even connect that
Right.
there's a model in the room that's like a size 14
Right.
and they're talking shit about someone who's not there,
Right.
calling her fat, who is half of my size. And it's like it's in personal insults. Like you're literally are insulting me while I'm standing right next to you and you don't even realize it.
Right, but then it's like, "Oh, no, but I don't mean about you." But it's like,
You're beautiful. It's like, what are you talking about? Like now you're just lying, but like now you're trying to save it, but it's already gone. Like
right.
I appreciate the effort, I guess, but you already missed it and now you realizing that like you did something rude.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that it's really great to have curve models now because I think that it's amazing for, you know, like the overweight girl in sitting in her room in whether it's in Wisconsin, in California, in New York. Like now that girl can see that it's acceptable and that it's considered beautiful. And what do you think? Do you think we need more of it? What other types of things do we need to see? What's going to fix this?
Yeah. For sure we need more of it. I think a lot of the spaces in fashion and media that are like super coveted are still not even close
Right.
to where they should be. I could name on one hand the people who have done like high fashion or like cool fashion jobs that are not sample size or a size 6 or under.
Right.
Which I think still keeps us in this weird space. Like if you ask most curve models, most of the stuff that we're shooting is not stuff that we would wear. And that's like a known thing. Do you know what I mean? It's like you show up on set, it's like a lot of it is for older women. It's not in fashion. Things like fast fashion, maybe Pretty Little Thing and stuff like that does curve models. But none of the brands that like even we love are doing stuff with models our size still. I
Right.
think that's a huge thing that has not been touched. Like Jacquemus just did Barbie,
Right.
which was awesome, like at home. Like that's what I think people are looking for. And it's like she shouldn't have to be a celebrity. It should just be a thing that you're doing. It's not that hard. Christian Siriano just did an interview with Ashley Graham about how it's harder, but it's not that hard to, when you're designing a line, do 7 pieces that are curve and then book 7 curve models and then they're just in the show. It's not that complicated. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
All of that stuff is made to wear. Like it's made to for one model to wear and then you mass produce it. So just make some pieces in another size and then bring in models who are that size also.
Right. Normalize it. It's so true.
Right, because it's so trendy, right? Like 11 Honoré, the show was amazing.
Right.
But then it's like, why does it have to be this all curve show happens? And it's like, you know what I mean? It's like a press thing where if you did an all curve show, it's like, holy, like, wow, you really must be outside of the box to book people who are like the size of 80% of the women in the world or something. It's like, why is that groundbreaking? That's what's so confusing to me. Yeah.
So agree. It's so true. Girls that are bigger, we don't want to just like shop at Gap. We want
it's like we want to wear cool clothes, right?
Yeah.
Right. We like clothing too. We like fashion. That's why those brands are alive. If the people who were all sample size only bought their clothes, they would not be alive still.
Exactly.
So it's like, why are you ignoring this huge market that is available to you?
I know. I will never understand that.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Me. I think it's like fear.
A fear of what?
There's some fear there. I think for one, fashion designers like the exclusivity. Like that era was a very big deal. The Naomi era of being in and like, yes, the skinniest models, and it's such like a thing that I think making the transition is hard.
Right. Like how do we go from here and like this is where we want to
0 to 100.
How do we get
Right. I think they don't know how to do it. And when they do it, then it becomes this like one curve model booked for whatever. Like I'm trying to think. Margiela did a show and I think Paloma did it. Which is like, it's amazing, but it's just like, it's always 1, maybe 2.
Right.
It's like, what is that about? Yeah. Or Marc Jacobs did it with a new face from IMG. And it's like, but it's obviously the step in the right direction. And it's just like, how do we get it to just like be normal? Like just do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You made 1 outfit in curve. You could probably make 4. You had 40 models. Yeah, you had 40 models in your show. So
what about like the whole curve model community? Like, do you guys talk about these sorts of things?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yes.
And the conversations, is it like exchanging stories of like horror stories that have happened on set, or is it more like frustration? Like, why doesn't this exist? What is that conversation that you guys have?
Yeah, I think it's definitely everything. Definitely horror stories, like showing up and nothing fits because somehow they like lost your measurements in the mail, like because it's, you know what I mean? All that stuff is on IMG or whoever's website, like what size you wear. So getting booked for something, showing up, they don't have any clothes for you. So then it's like, oh, we have to go to the store and like try to find, you know what I mean? It makes you feel bad. Like, I think I used to feel bad. Now it's like just annoying. And I will say flat out, like my measurements are exactly the same as what was on the website, like before I showed up here. So I don't know what was missed. but I am the same size. The clothes that I'm wearing are the clothes I'm wearing in those digitals that they sent you from 3 months ago. You know what I
Right.
mean? So someone
Don't make,
else missed the boat here.
yeah, like don't make me feel like an inconvenience because
Right. Don't say, like, saying to girls like, oh, like we're gonna have to go to the Gap or whatever to try to find jeans that fit you. We didn't know. You know what I mean? We didn't know it was a 14. It's like, how did you not know? Like,
right,
what?
like that's why
What? This is like a job.
yeah. Oh
That's
my
what's
God.
confusing to me. We're doing a job here.
Yeah.
You guys you picked me. So how the hell do you guys know what size I wear? Like, this is
Right.
a clothing shoot. It
Right.
doesn't make any sense. Definitely sharing horror stories, like, but also celebrating each other. Talking to Paloma, saying congrats, like reaching out and saying like that's so awesome. I think it's easier for Curve to feel like there's no space in that like high fashion world, and so it's harder to feel like excited when it happens for just one person of like 1,000. But yeah, we talk about like what's missing a lot. I think the most common thing is being the only one. Like all of us, I feel like have experienced that. Like shooting a big campaign. For some reason, there's like 4 thin white women and then me.
Right.
It's like, this doesn't seem like
An
the
accurate
casting
representation.
team, right?
Yeah.
right, of the world. Or even our agents are getting these bookings for big jobs where they're not using Curve. So then they're saying, well, why aren't you guys doing Curve? And they're like, oh, okay, like we'll add a Curve girl. Like show us your board of Curve girls. And then they just pick one. And then you show up and you have one look. That's another thing. Is being there for the whole day, shooting this big thing.
Right.
Everybody else is shooting 10 to 12 different things in this whole story. And then they just have one extra large bathing suit that you shoot for 2 days and you're wearing the same thing. It's just very blatant. It's just something that's obvious. Like you feel it, they know it, but there's nothing really that they can say or do because it just, that's where you are. This is what we have, so this is what you're wearing.
Right.
And that's it. Yeah.
I also am always like, Curve models still are, you know, very fit. I mean, there are people who have weight issues beyond being a Curve model, you know, that like don't even fit into Curve model sizes. It's just like, what about those people? I can't even imagine because it's like, at least I can see other Curve models that look more like me, but I can't imagine being 200 pounds overweight and having nowhere to look for reference.
For much of anything. Yeah. Right. When we did the Glamour cover, which I did with my, like one of my best friends, Solange, they were like talking to us about that. And with Alessandra, both of them are from IMG. They were like, well, how do you guys feel about being like, we wear clothing to market to people who are maybe, like you said, 200 pounds heavier than us. Mm-hmm. And to me, it seems like we're doing the exact same thing in a different stage that happened to us.
Yep.
Like somebody who weighs 300 pounds does not want to look at me to see how clothes are going to fit. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't work. Right. They're going to buy something for themselves that looks completely different on me than it does on them, which I've done 1,000 times with clothing that I've seen on somebody who's a size 0 to 2 for myself. I put it on, I'm like, what is this? Like, it's not even the same piece of clothing because it's meant to fit like some like loose bag, but on me, of course, it's not going to fit like that. So I think that that's hard. It's like from a business perspective, I think it's hard to shoot e-commerce or things like that on, you can't shoot it on every size. Like most of the women in my own life, like in my personal life, are curvier, and they'll like ask about that experience. And I always tell them that they look completely different in person because they do. Like they do not look like what you're seeing. And half the time, neither do I. Right. So don't get hung up on these like images, because if you could see how many people are in the room to help them look like that, like it's a joke. You know what I mean? Like when you really get down to it, like it's silly. Like when you see the 12 people, one person's holding a piece of my hair, the other person's like blowing a fan, someone else has sewn the clothes to fit me perfectly. The light is like, you know what I mean? They tweak the lighting so that it looks like I'm glowing all the time. It's just like it's what it is. It's marketing. It's not anything close to reality.
So my last question is, where do we go from here? And what do you want people to know?
I feel like I think something that I always try to do is, I think a part of normalizing is not calling it out. I am going to wear a swimsuit that shows my ass if I'm 40 pounds heavier or if I lose 40 pounds. There's no difference. I'm not going to treat myself differently. And so
Mhm.
I think people see that. Like, I know that they see it, at least on my social media, is like, no matter what, like, you do what you want to do. And
Mhm.
I think that that's really important. And I wish that everyone would just do that. I feel a lot of people say, I wish I could wear that, or I wish I could do that. It's like, who
You
the fuck
can.
is stopping you from doing it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, do you think somebody told me that I couldn't do it and then I did it anyway? Like,
Right.
no, I just did it because I wanted to do it. I want to have a tan everywhere. So I think that's what I did. And that was the end of it. You know what I mean? And I think I have to pick wisely, like, the people that I follow. I think I noticed that I was following a lot of naturally super thin people, but who just I can't identify with at all. You can't take fitness and health advice from, first of all, someone who is not a doctor. They're literally just speaking to what works for them.
Right.
And but for some reason they have this huge following because they're naturally skinny and they can eat potatoes all day and do Pilates and they look super thin.
Totally.
But they have this whole mass following that's doing what they do, even though it doesn't work.
It's not
for
going to
them.
work. Exactly.
Right.
No, exactly. And I think that that goes back to like what you were saying before of like, this is my body. This is
Right.
this is what you see is what you get. There's
Right.
I'm this is the way I was born. I'm never going to
This
look
is who
like,
I am today. Right.
yeah, I'm never going to have the
Right.
body Naomi Campbell has, and
Right.
it's just like, all right, I'm going to make this work, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah.
But I'm not going to let it stop me from doing this thing now. And I think of that mindset of when I lose 10 pounds, I'm
Yeah.
going to buy this short dress. Like, I think I've absolutely done that many times, first of
Yeah.
all, but like getting out of that space.
Well, thank you so much. Seriously.
Yeah, so fun.
This felt so good, and it really I'm like so inspired by you to just feel like, yeah, I'm gonna make this work. And if I
Yes.
tell myself that this is beautiful, it is beautiful, and
It is.
I don't need anybody's validation to feel that way.
No, literally no one's. Yeah. I
So
completely support that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for what you do.
Yes. Thanks for
because
having me.
oh
Yeah.
my God, it feels so good to like see you and to talk to you.
And like relate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is good.
Thank you, Yvonne. This
Thank
was
you so
fun.
much.
Take care.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.